The chamber held 4,000 species. 17 of them spoke against Earth. High Arbiter Velith stood at the central podium, his insectoid body clicking with each word. His species did not feel anxiety. They had evolved past such weakness 300,000 years ago. So the itch beneath his thorax meant nothing. Just dry air. Just the recycled atmosphere of a station built for compromise. Humanity has proven, he said, through repeated action, that they cannot be trusted with the responsibilities of galactic citizenship. The chamber hummed with agreement. Thousands of representatives from thousands of worlds, all nodding, or clicking or flashing colors that meant yes. Yes. Remove them. Ambassador Shin Yunji sat in the human delegation's small section. 14 seats. Earth had only been part of the Concord for 31 years. They were still newcomers. Still being tested. They had failed. The Kethrani delegate listed humanity's crimes. The border wars. The Manila incident. The refusal to allow inspection of military vessels. The general attitude of defiance that made other species uncomfortable. They do not understand their place, the delegate said. They act as though they are our equals. Yunji wrote something on her tablet. Her aide leaned close. Ambassador, should we prepare a response? She shook her head. Kept writing. The vote took 6 hours. Delegates spoke for and against. Mostly against. The Yeth Dominion abstained, as expected. Trade mattered more to them than politics. The Morvith Ascendancy also abstained. They never took sides. 12 species voted to keep humanity in the Concord. 3,847 voted for exile. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to the human section. Velith felt the itch again. Stronger now. His species had destroyed 17 civilizations in their history. They understood power. They understood threat. What they did not understand was the look on Ambassador Shin's face. She was smiling. Small. Controlled. The kind of smile one gives when receiving expected news. Then she stood. The chamber held its breath. 4,000 species. Countless representatives. All waiting for the outburst. The threats. The promises of revenge that always came when a civilization was cast out. Yunji walked to the speaker's platform. Her shoes clicked against the metal floor. Each step precise. Measured. She reached the podium. Looked out at the gathered representatives. Found Velitha's eyes. Bowed. Deep. Formal. The kind of bow her grandmother had taught her. The kind given at funerals. The people of Earth, she said, thank the Concord for its clarity. Velitha's thorax burned. We understand our place. We will not contest this decision. We wish the Concord peace and prosperity in the centuries to come. She bowed again. Then she left. No threats. No anger. No final speech about humanity's greatness or the Concord's mistake. She simply walked back to her delegation, gathered her tablet, and led her people toward the exit. The chamber remained frozen. Velitha's aide moved close. Young. Inexperienced. But observant. She smiled, the aide whispered. Before she bowed. Did you see it? Velith had seen it. What does it mean? Velith did not answer. He watched the human delegation file through the massive doors. 14 people. Walking calmly. Not looking back. The doors closed behind them. For 11 minutes, no one in the chamber spoke. 4,000 species. Countless representatives. All waiting for someone else to break the silence. Finally, the Yeth Trade Admiral cleared her throat. Well, she said. That was unexpected. 3 days later, Earth's communication buoys went offline. Not destroyed. The Concord sensors would have detected weapons fire. The buoys simply stopped transmitting. One by one. Politely switching off like lights in an empty house. Velith received the report in his private quarters. He had not slept since the vote. His species did not dream. They had not dreamed for 300,000 years. But something had changed. When he closed his eyes, he saw Ambassador Shin's face. Her smile. Her bow. The itch beneath his thorax had spread. What are they doing? His aide asked. I don't know. Should we send observation drones? Yes. The drones were sent. 47 of them. Long range. State of the art. 39 malfunctioned before reaching Earth's outer system. The remaining 8 showed nothing unusual. Cities, farms, children walking to school. No military buildup. No weapons platforms. No signs of the rage the Concord had expected. Just silence. Trade Admiral Serene from the Yeth Dominion ran calculations. Humanity had dependencies. They imported Losketh grain. Yeth medical compounds.
Morvet computing cores.
Without galactic trade, their infrastructure should collapse within 2 years. She shared her projections with the Council. They will come back, she said. They have no choice. Their economy cannot survive isolation. Velith nodded. The itch eased slightly. We simply wait. 1 year passed. Earth's economy did not collapse. 2 years passed. Earth's population grew by 40 million. 3 years passed. Observer Tien from the Morvith Ascendancy presented a report that made Velith's thorax burn like fire. Their electromagnetic signature has changed, she said. Her voice was calm. Her species specialized in long-term analysis. They did not panic. They simply observed. Changed how? Every transmission is now encrypted. The algorithms used are. She paused. Checked her data. Checked it again. The algorithm should not exist. Explain. To create encryption this complex, humanity would need computational power far beyond what they possessed when they were exiled. They would need technology they never purchased from us. Technology they could not have developed on their own in 3 years. Velith leaned forward. Are you saying they had it before? Tien's eyes, all 7 of them, blinked in sequence. I am saying, High Arbiter, that we may have misunderstood what humanity was doing during their 31 years in the Concord. The chamber went quiet. They were not learning to be citizens, Tien continued. They were learning. Full stop. Every trade agreement. Every cultural exchange. Every medical purchase and technology transfer. They were studying us. All of us. While we were busy deciding whether to trust them. Velith remembered the vote. 3,847 to 12. He remembered Ambassador Shin's bow. He remembered her smile. High Arbiter, his aide said quietly. Perhaps we should send a diplomatic vessel. Open communications. See what they want. Velith shook his head. That is what concerns me, he said. They do not appear to want anything. They asked for nothing. Demanded nothing. Threatened nothing. Is that not a good sign? Velith's thorax itched. Burned. Screamed. No, he said. A species that wants something can be negotiated with. A species that needs something can be controlled. A species that demands something reveals what it values. He stared at the image of Earth on the display. Blue and green and white. Silent. A species that wants nothing, he whispered, has already taken everything it needs. The itch would never stop again. 3 levels below Soul, Dr. Yoon Hannah hummed an old song her mother used to sing. Something about mountains. Something about waiting. Her team worked around her in careful silence. They had learned that when Hannah hummed, she was thinking. When she stopped, she had finished thinking. She had been humming for 6 hours. On the table in front of her lay the pieces of a Yeth medical scanner. Earth had acquired 12 of these during the integration period. Back then, the Concord thought humanity was buying medicine. Basic supplies for a young species still learning its way. They were not buying medicine. The crystalline matrix is the key, Hannah said. She did not look up. Her fingers moved across the alien components like a pianist finding familiar keys. They grow these in 0 gravity. Takes them 8 months per unit. Her assistant, a young man named Park Taiwan, leaned closer. How long for us? Hannah stopped humming. The silence in the lab grew heavy. 3 weeks, she said. We cracked the growth pattern 4 months ago. We have been manufacturing them since February. Taiwan stared at her. The Concord thinks we need their medical technology to survive. Yes. But we do not. Hannah smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had lost her father during the integration conflicts. Someone who had spent 20 years preparing for this moment. We have not needed them for a very long time, she said. We simply let them believe we did. On Station Kyath 4, Ambassador Shin Yunji maintained a small office. 2 rooms. A desk. A window that looked out at the stars. The Concorde allowed her this. A gesture of mercy. Even exiled species deserved representation in neutral space. Yunji spent her days answering messages. Most were from Concorde officials checking on Earth's welfare. She replied to each one with perfect politeness. Asterisk, the people of Earth are well. Thank you for your concern. Asterisk. Asterisk, Earth's food production remains stable. We appreciate your interest. Asterisk. Asterisk, our population is healthy. We require no assistance at this time. Asterisk. The messages kept coming. The officials grew more insistent. Surely humanity needed something. Surely they were suffering. Yunji's replies never changed. Her office had a second purpose. One the Concorde did not know about. Every night, she received encrypted transmissions from Earth. Reports on progress. Manufacturing numbers. Fleet construction timelines. The names of Concorde officials who might be sympathetic. The names of those who never would be. She organized this information. Categorized it. Sent back instructions. Ambassador Shin Yunji was not just a diplomat. She was the head of Earth's External Observation Bureau. A polite name for something far less polite. Trade Admiral Serene could not sleep. Her species required 12 hours of submersion in mineral-rich water each night. She had been managing 6. Sometimes 4. The numbers did not make sense. She pulled up Earth's import records from their years in the Concorde. Medical supplies. Computing components. Agricultural supplements. All the things a young civilization needed. Then she pulled up Earth's current production reports. The ones gathered by long-range observation. The ones that should show a civilization struggling to survive. They showed growth. Not just survival. Growth. Expansion. Development. How? She whispered to her empty office. She ran the calculations again. Earth did not have the infrastructure to replace what they had lost. They did not have the knowledge. They did not have the time. Unless they had been preparing for this before the exile. Unless every trade agreement, every purchase, every cultural exchange had been cover for something else. Serene thought about the human engineer who had worked at maintenance station Kyath 7. A quiet man. Good at his job. Resigned 5 years ago and returned to Earth. She thought about the 4 Concorde ships that had suffered identical reactor failures over the past 18 months. All serviced at Kyath 7. All during the period when the human engineer worked there. Manufacturing defects, the investigations concluded. Serene was beginning to doubt those conclusions. Observer Tien spent her days analyzing patterns. It was what her species did. What they were built for. The pattern she was currently studying made her uncomfortable. Earth's electromagnetic signature had not just changed. It had refined. Every transmission from the planet was now encrypted with algorithms that bent the laws of mathematics. Algorithms that required processing power Earth officially did not possess. But that was not the disturbing part. The disturbing part was the silence. Before exile, Earth had been loud. Television signals. Radio broadcasts. Commercial communications. 14 billion people talking, shouting, singing, arguing. A planet-wide symphony of noise. Now there was nothing. Not reduced noise. Not quieter noise. Nothing. 14 billion people, and not a single unencrypted transmission. Not a single stray signal. Not a single leaked frequency. Tien had studied 3,000 civilizations in her career. She had never seen anything like this. They are hiding, she told the council. But not from fear. They are hiding because they have something to hide. And they are very, very good at it. Velatha's thorax burned. What could they possibly have? Tien's 7 eyes blinked slowly. I do not know. But I know this. When a prey species goes silent, it is because a predator is near. When a predator species goes silent. She did not finish the sentence. She did not have to. 400 meters below the surface of Luna, Admiral Kang Do-yoon stood in a control room that did not exist. No records showed its construction. No satellites had photographed its entrance. No alien sensors had detected the heat signatures of 10,000 workers building humanity's answer to exile. Do-yoon was 58 years old. He had spent 30 years in submarines. He understood silence better than most humans alive. He understood that noise was weakness, that visibility was vulnerability, that the most dangerous weapon was the one your enemy forgot to look for. Status report, he said. His aide pulled up the displays. 12 shipyards. Hidden across Earth's solar system. In asteroids. In deep craters. In places the Concorde's observation drones could not see. 47 vessels completed, the aide said. 63 more in construction. All stealth capable. All equipped with the new drive systems. Do-yoon nodded. And the Concorde's patrols. Holding position at the quarantine perimeter. 47 ships. Rotating crews. No changes to their sensor coverage. Do-yoon tapped his thumb against his knuckle. Not nervousness. Calculation. They think they are containing us, he said. Yes, sir. They think the quarantine line is a wall. Yes, sir. Do-yoon allowed himself a small smile. They have it backwards. The wall is not there to keep us in. It is there to keep them out. So they do not see what we are building. He turned to the main display. Earth hung in the center, surrounded by the positions of Concorde patrol vessels. 47 ships. State of the art. Each one capable of destroying a small fleet. They looked like a cage. They were actually a blindfold. Continue construction, Do-yoon said. Double shifts on the stealth frigates. I want the first squadron operational within 6 months. His aide hesitated. Sir, some of the crews are asking, when will we strike? Do-yoon's smile faded. Strike? We will not strike. That is what they expect. That is what they prepared for. Retaliation. Revenge. They have simulated every scenario where humanity attacks in anger. He turned to face his aide directly. We will not give them the war they planned for. We will give them something worse. We will give them doubt. We will give them silence. We will give them 12 years of wondering what we are doing. He looked back at the display. And when we finally reveal ourselves, it will not be with weapons. It will be with capability. They will see what we have become. And they will realize, too late, that they were never the ones in control. The aide swallowed. What if they attack first? Do-yoon's thumb tapped his knuckle once. Twice. They will not. They are not afraid of what we might do. They are afraid of what we might be planning. And fear of the unknown is always stronger than fear of the known. He straightened his uniform. Let them fear. Let them wonder. Let them wait. Time is the one weapon they cannot take from us. And on Earth, 14 billion people went about their lives. Working. Learning. Building. Silent. Patient. Ready. The vigilant tired died without warning. Captain Vesh of the Kethrani destroyer was reviewing patrol logs when the alarms began. Reactor containment failure. Core temperature rising. Emergency systems offline. He had 11 seconds to understand what was happening. He did not understand. The explosion left no survivors. No wreckage larger than a fist. Just expanding gas and metal fragments where a warship used to be. The Concorde investigation took 3 months. Manufacturing defect, they concluded. A flaw in the reactor's crystalline matrix. Tragic. Unavoidable. 6 months later, the Yeth cruiser Solemn Promise suffered identical failure. Same investigation. Same conclusion. 11 months after that, 2 more ships. Trade Admiral Serene stopped sleeping entirely. She pulled the maintenance records. All 4 ships had been serviced at the same station. Kayeth 7. Different crews. Different times. Different systems inspected. But the same station. A station that had employed a human engineer 7 years ago. A quiet man named Cho Minyu. Good at his job. Left no traces. Returned to Earth before the exile. Serene requested his personnel file. It was ordinary. Education. Certifications. Performance reviews. Nothing unusual. Nothing at all. Captain Bark Jiho stood on the bridge of Quiet Winter and watched a Concorde battleship pass within 300 meters of his hull. His crew held their breath. 7 people. Each one hand-selected. Each one trained for years in the art of stillness. The battleship did not slow. Did not scan. Did not notice that Earth's first stealth frigate was close enough to read the nameplate on its hull. Eternal Vigilance *. The battleship was called. Jiho smiled. Mark their shield harmonics, he said quietly. And their communication frequencies. Everything. His tactical officer nodded. Fingers moved across silent displays. Quiet Winter had crossed the quarantine line 41 times in 3 years. They had never been detected. Never fired a weapon. Never revealed themselves. They had done something worse. They had watched. Listened. Learned. Every patrol route. Every sensor gap. Every frequency the Concorde used to communicate. Every protocol they followed when responding to emergencies. Jiho had a file on his personal console. 300 pages. Everything humanity would need to know if the Concorde ever decided to attack. He updated it daily. "Sir," his navigator whispered, "the battleship is hailing the patrol coordinator." Standard check-in. "Let me hear it." The communication played through his earpiece. Boring. Routine. A captain complaining about the assignment. A coordinator assuring him that rotation would come soon. "They think this is punishment duty," his exo murmured. "Watching a silent planet." Jiho's smile widened. "Good. Bored soldiers make mistakes. And we collect every single one." Observer Tien worked alone. Her species valued isolation. Clear thinking required clear space.
No distractions. No interruptions.
Just data and the patterns hidden within. She had spent 2 years studying the reactor failures. The official conclusion was manufacturing defect. 4 ships. Same flaw. Tragic coincidence. Tien did not believe in coincidence. She traced the maintenance records, the service logs, the personnel files. Everything pointed to normal operations. Nothing pointed to sabotage. And yet, she found it at 3:47 in the morning, station time. A server access log, buried deep in the Concorde's classified archives. The servers that held military maintenance protocols. The ones that had never been breached. Last access, 4 years ago. Duration, 0.003 seconds. No data copied. No files modified. No traces left except this single timestamp. Someone had looked. Just looked. 43 milliseconds. Tien ran the mathematics. To access that server, an intruder would need to bypass 17 layers of security. They would need processing power beyond anything humanity possessed. They would need knowledge of Concorde systems that had never been shared with any outside species. Unless it had been shared. Unless humanity had been stealing it for 31 years. Tien thought about every cultural exchange. Every diplomatic visit. Every trade agreement where human engineers had been given observation access to Concorde technology. They had not been observing. They had been copying. She wrote her report. 2 words. They know. High Arbiter Velith received Tien's report at midnight. He read it 7 times. Then he sat in his chamber, alone, and tried to calculate how badly he had miscalculated. Humanity had been in the Concorde for 31 years. During that time, they had been loud, demanding, difficult. They had argued about everything, challenged every protocol, questioned every tradition. The Concorde had assumed this was arrogance, the behavior of a young species that did not know its place. Now Velith wondered if it had been distraction. While humanity argued and demanded and drew attention, what else had they been doing? How many systems had they accessed? How many secrets had they copied? How many weaknesses had they mapped? The 4 ships that had exploded. Were they warnings? Or tests? Was the human engineer Cho Minyu a saboteur? Or just one of hundreds? Velith's thorax burned. The itch had become constant pain. His aide entered without knocking. Young. Frightened. High Arbiter. There is news from the quarantine line. Velith closed his eyes. What now? One of our patrol ships detected an anomaly. A sensor ghost. They investigated and found nothing. But their equipment registered something for 0.4 seconds before it disappeared. What kind of something? The aide's voice shook. Ship-sized. Moving at speeds our vessels cannot match. Using a drive signature we do not recognize. Velith opened his eyes. How close did it get? It crossed the patrol line, entered Concord space, then returned to Earth system. When? We do not know. The timestamp suggests this happened 6 months ago. We are only finding the record now because observer Tien requested a full sensor archive review. 6 months. 6 months, and they had not known. How many times? Velith whispered. Sir. How many times have they crossed the line without us detecting it? The aide did not answer. He did not have to. Admiral Kang Do-yoon received the report from *Quiet Winter* at 0600 hours, Earth time. 41 crossings. 0 detections. Complete mapping of Concord patrol routes, sensor coverage, and communication protocols. He read it twice. Then he opened a channel to Ambassador Shin Yoonji. They found one of our sensor ghosts, he said. 6 months after the fact. From a deep archive search. Yoonji's face was calm on the display. Does this concern you? No. It confirms what I suspected. Their systems are not built to detect what we have become. They are looking for threats they understand. We are not a threat they understand. Yoonji nodded slowly. How much longer do we need? Do-yoon tapped his thumb against his knuckle. 5 more years. Perhaps 6. The production facilities are at full capacity. The new technologies are stabilizing. By year 12, we will have 200 vessels. All stealth-capable. All carrying systems the Concorde has never seen. And then? Do-yoon's expression did not change. And then we show them. Not with weapons. With presence. We reveal ourselves everywhere at once. In their space. Around their stations. Close enough to touch their hulls. He paused. We let them understand that the quarantine was never a cage. It was a blindfold. And while they thought they were watching us, we were watching them. Yoonji smiled. The same smile she had worn in the Concorde chamber 7 years ago. They exiled us because they feared our violence. Yes. They should have feared our patience. Yes. Yoonji looked at something off-screen. Reports. Production numbers. Fleet positions. Continue as planned, she said. Let them keep watching an empty cage. She cut the connection. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, 47 Concorde patrol ships continued their vigil. Watching. Waiting. They did not know that humanity had stopped being prisoners years ago. They did not know that *Quiet Winter* was passing beneath them at that very moment. They did not know anything at all. And that was exactly how humanity wanted it. The council chamber was quieter than it had been in 8 years. High Arbiter Velith stood at the central podium. His thorax had stopped itching 3 years ago. Now it simply hurt. A constant, dull pressure that never faded. We must consider, he said, the possibility that we made an error. The chamber did not erupt.
No shouts. No arguments.
Just silence. That silence was worse. Earth has been in exile for 8 years. In that time, they have not attacked us. They have not threatened us. They have not demanded restoration of their membership. He paused. They have also not suffered. They have not begged for trade. They have not collapsed, as our projections suggested they would. Trade Admiral Serene shifted in her seat. The projections had been hers. She had been wrong. Everyone knew it. I propose, Velith continued, that we offer humanity a path back to the Concorde, under controlled conditions. The Kethrani delegate rose, the same one who had listed humanity's crimes 8 years ago. What conditions? Full military transparency. Surrender of all vessels above 50,000 tons. Permanent council observers stationed on Earth. The chamber murmured. These were not light terms. These were the terms imposed on defeated enemies. If they refuse... Velith's mandibles clicked. Then we will know their intentions. And we can act accordingly. The vote passed. 3,800 to 412. The delegation was sent. Ambassador Shin Yoonji received them in her small office on Station Kyath 4. The same office she had occupied for 8 years. 2 rooms. A desk. A window. She served tea. The Concorde delegation numbered 7. Senior diplomats. Military advisors. 1 intelligence analyst who thought he was being subtle. Yoonji had read his file 3 years ago. She knew his name, his family history, and his weakness for gambling. She had chosen the tea specifically because she knew he would find it bitter. Ambassador Shin, the lead diplomat began, the Concord has reconsidered its position regarding Earth. Yoonji sipped her tea. How kind. We believe that humanity may have been judged too harshly, that perhaps a second evaluation is warranted. That is very generous. The diplomat smiled. He thought he was winning. Of course, there would be conditions. For everyone's safety. Full transparency regarding military capabilities. Transfer of larger vessels to Concord custody. Observer stations to ensure compliance. Yoonji set down her cup. I see. We believe these terms are fair, given the circumstances. Humanity would regain access to galactic trade, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation, everything you lost. Yoonji nodded slowly. I will need to consult with Earth. This is not a decision I can make alone. Of course. Take the time you need. 3 months passed. The delegation returned to Station Kyath for expecting an answer. Ambassador Shin Yoonji met them with the same tea. The same small office. The same calm expression. Earth has considered your offer, she said. The lead diplomat leaned forward. And? We appreciate the Concord's generosity. Truly. After 8 years of exile, this gesture means a great deal. She paused. However, we must respectfully decline. The chamber went cold. Decline. We find that exile suits us. We have grown comfortable with our isolation. Our people are healthy. Our economy is stable. Our needs are met. The intelligence analyst spoke without thinking. That is impossible. Our projections. Yoonji's eyes found his. Held them. Your projections were based on what you believed we needed. You did not consider what we might have already possessed. The lead diplomat tried to salvage the conversation. Ambassador, please. Consider the benefits. Trade. Technology. Partnership with 4,000 species. We have considered, Yoonji said. For 8 years, we have considered. And we have concluded that the Concord's partnership is not necessary for our survival. She stood. But we do hope to maintain cordial relations. As a gesture of goodwill, please accept this gift. She placed a small data chip on the table. The delegation stared at it. What is this? Yoonji smiled. Complete specifications for the Concord's military encryption. The protocols you have used for 6 centuries. The ones no species has ever broken. The intelligence analyst's face went pale. We thought you might want to update your systems, Yoonji continued. They are quite vulnerable, as it turns out. She produced a second item. A handwritten note. From Admiral Kang Do-yoon, our military commander. He asked me to deliver this personally. The lead diplomat took the note with shaking hands. Asterisk, you may want to change this. Kang Do-yoon asterisk. 7 words. The delegation left within the hour. High Arbiter Velith read the report in his private chamber. His thorax had stopped hurting. Now it felt nothing at all. Just numbness. The numbness that came before acceptance. They had cracked the encryption. The military encryption. The backbone of Concord security for 600 years. Not just cracked it. Studied it. Documented it. Handed it back as a gift. Asterisk, you may want to change this dot asterisk. Not a threat. Not a demand. Just a polite suggestion. The kind of suggestion one made when demonstrating overwhelming capability without needing to use it. Observer Tien entered without announcement. You have seen the report. Yes. Do you understand what it means? Velith closed his eyes. They have been inside our systems. 4 years. Perhaps since before the exile. They know everything. Fleet positions. Defense protocols. Communication networks. Yes. And they chose to tell us, instead of using it against us. Tien's 7 eyes blinked in sequence. That is what frightens me most. They revealed their capability. They could have kept it secret. Used it to destroy us. Instead, they returned it. Like a teacher returning a student's failed examination. Velith opened his eyes. What do they want? I do not know. But I know what they do not want. They do not want revenge. If they wanted revenge, they would have taken it already. They do not want conquest. If they wanted conquest, they would not have warned us. She stepped closer. I think they want us to understand something. Something we have been too afraid to see. What? Tien paused. That we were never the ones in control. We thought we exiled them. We thought we contained them. We thought we were the power that decided their fate. She shook her head. We were wrong. They allowed it. All of it. The exile. The quarantine. The years of silence. They allowed it because it served their purpose. What purpose? Time. They needed time. To build. To prepare. To become something we cannot stop. Vila thought about the vote 8 years ago. 3,847 to 12. He thought about Ambassador Shin's bow. He thought about the smile she had worn before she bent. She knew, he whispered. On the day of the vote. She already knew. Yes. She was not accepting exile. She was accepting a gift. Time and invisibility, handed to her by a chamber full of fools who thought they were punishing her. Tien nodded. The bow was not submission. It was gratitude. Velith sat in silence for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was very small. What do we do? Tien turned toward the window. Stars hung in the darkness. Somewhere out there, Earth continued its work. We wait, she said. We prepare. And we pray that when they finally reveal themselves, they remember that some of us voted against exile. Will they? Tien's eyes blinked. Ambassador Shin's message mentioned goodwill. She said Earth hopes to maintain cordial relations. Is that a promise? No. It is a possibility. And possibilities are all we have left. She left without another word. Velith sat alone in his chamber, staring at the handwritten note from Admiral Kang De-yoon. 7 words. Polite. Professional. Terrifying. Asterisk, you may want to change this ... asterisk. And somewhere in the darkness, humanity continued to build. The Morvith colony on Kyath 9 went silent at 3:47 in the morning. Not destroyed. Not attacked. Just silent. Communication arrays stopped transmitting. Emergency beacons went dark. For 16 hours, the Concorde assumed the worst. The response fleet arrived expecting wreckage. They found a colony. Intact. Functional. Population alive and healthy. But different. The colony administrator met them at the landing pad. Her 7 eyes blinked rapidly. We received visitors, she said. 3 days ago. What visitors?
Humans.
They came on ships we never saw approach. They never landed. They sent down gifts. Gifts. She led them through the colony, past the medical center, where every piece of Morvith technology had been replaced with something newer, past the power station, where the reactors now produced twice their former output, past the communication hub, where the systems had been upgraded beyond anything the Concorde manufactured. They replaced everything, the administrator said. Without asking. Without permission. They left these. She handed them a message card, printed in perfect Morvith liturgical script. Asterisk Earth remembers its friends. Earth remembers those who abstained. Asterisk. The Concorde fleet commander stared at the card. What does this mean? The Morvith Ascendancy abstained from the exile vote 12 years ago. Humanity noticed. And they remembered. The same thing happened to a Kethrani station 3 weeks later. Then a Yeth trade hub. Then a Losketh agricultural colony. Each time, the same pattern. Ships that arrived without warning. Gifts left without permission. Technology that exceeded anything the Concorde possessed. And always the same message. Asterisk Earth remembers. Asterisk. High Arbiter Velith received reports from across the galaxy. His thorax had stopped feeling anything years ago. Now even the numbness was gone. There was only clarity. Humanity was not conquering. They were not attacking. They were not demanding surrender. They were helping. Unasked. Uninvited. Impossible to stop. And every gift came with the same quiet reminder. Asterisk, we could have done this differently. We chose not to. Asterisk. The council convened in emergency session. 4,000 species. Countless representatives. All watching as High Arbiter Velith took the central podium for what he suspected would be the last time. The situation has changed, he said. Humanity has demonstrated capabilities beyond our projections. Beyond our understanding. Beyond our ability to counter. The chamber was silent. They have not attacked us. They have not threatened us. They have improved our colonies. Upgraded our technology. Delivered gifts we cannot replicate. He paused. And they have done this while remaining invisible. Their ships cross our space without detection. Their agents operate on our stations without discovery. Their technology functions on principles we cannot identify. The Yeth Trade Admiral rose. What do they want? I do not know. But I suspect we are about to find out. The chamber doors opened. Ambassador Shin Yunji walked through. She was older than the last time they had seen her. Grey at the temples. Lines around her eyes. 12 years had passed since she had stood in this chamber and accepted exile with a bow. She walked to the speaker's platform. The same platform. The same precise steps. She bowed. Deep. Formal. The same depth as before. Then she straightened. 12 years ago, you asked us to leave. We did. We bore no anger. We made no threats. We understood that the Concord needed time to see clearly. So we gave you that time. Her voice was calm. Steady. Not loud. During those 12 years, we prepared. We built. We learned. Not because we planned to destroy you. We never wanted that. We prepared because we knew that someday, this moment would arrive. The moment when we would stand before you again. She reached into her coat and produced a data chip. This contains a complete technical archive of every advancement Earth has made during our exile. Propulsion systems that exceed anything in your fleet. Medical technology that can cure diseases your species have accepted as permanent. Agricultural methods that can feed populations you have considered unsustainable. Computing architectures that make your most advanced systems look primitive. She placed the chip on the podium. All of it. Freely given. No conditions.
No demands.
No requirements. The chamber did not breathe. We do not want to rejoin the Concord. The Concord as it exists is obsolete. It was built on fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of difference. Fear of species that might one day challenge your dominance. She looked around the chamber. 4,000 species. All watching. We are here to build something better. A true partnership. Not an organization where older species dictate terms to younger ones. Not a hierarchy based on who arrived first. Something equal. Something built on cooperation instead of control. She bowed again. You may participate. Or you may watch. We hope you will participate. Earth remembers, but Earth also forgives. She straightened. You exiled us because you feared our violence. You should have feared our patience. But we do not hold that against you. Fear is natural. It is what you do with fear that matters. Her eyes found Velith's. You voted for our exile, High Arbiter. I remember. But I also remember that you argued for caution in the years that followed. You stopped your people from attacking us preemptively. You gave us the time we needed. Velith's mandibles clicked. You knew I would. Yunji smiled. We hoped. And you proved worthy of that hope. She looked back at the chamber. The data chip remains on this podium. You may examine it at your leisure. You may verify our claims. You may take as much time as you need to decide. She turned to leave. But I will tell you what our admiral told me before I came here. The window for decision is not infinite. We are offering partnership today. Tomorrow, we may only be offering coexistence. And the day after that. She paused at the door. We would rather not find out what comes after that. Neither would you. She left. Velith remained at the podium long after the chamber emptied. His aide approached nervously. High Arbiter. What do we do? Velith picked up the data chip. Small. Weightless. Containing technology that could reshape the galaxy. We accept, he said. Accept. Their offer. Their partnership. Whatever they call it. But the conditions. There are no conditions. That is the point. They are giving us everything. Asking for nothing. Demanding nothing. Velith turned the chip over in his hand. Do you understand what that means? A species that demands something can be negotiated with. A species that needs something can be controlled. But a species that gives freely. He closed his eyes. A species that gives freely has already won. They are beyond negotiation. Beyond control. The only question is whether we want to be their partners or their observers. And you choose partnership. Velith remembered Ambassador Shin's first bow. 12 years ago. The smile before she bent. He had spent 12 years wondering what it meant. Now he understood. It was not submission. It was not gratitude. It was not even confidence. It was farewell. She had been saying goodbye to the old Concord. The one built on hierarchy and fear. She had known, even then, that it would not survive what humanity was about to become. I choose partnership, Velith said. Quickly. Before they stop asking. He walked toward the door. Summon the council. Tell them we have a response to prepare. And tell them to prepare it fast. Why fast? Velith paused at the threshold. Because I have been watching humanity for 12 years. I have seen what they do when they wait. And I do not want to learn what they do when they stop waiting. He left the chamber. Behind him, on the podium, the data chip glinted in the light. Small. Weightless. A gift from a species that had learned the most terrifying lesson in the galaxy. Patience was power. Silence was strength. And the most dangerous enemy was not the one that threatened you. It was the one that had already won and was polite enough not to mention it. On Earth, 14 billion people went about their lives. In orbit, 212 stealth vessels held position throughout Concord space. Waiting. Watching. In the command center beneath Luna, Admiral Kang Do-yoon received word that the Council was preparing its acceptance. He nodded once. Good, he said. His aide smiled. We won. Do-yoon shook his head. No. We survived. Winning would have required us to become like them. We chose something harder. We chose to become something they could not predict. He looked out at the stars. The Real work begins now. Building something better. Proving that patience was not just a weapon. He tapped his thumb against his knuckle. We have 12 years of silence to make worthwhile. Let's not waste them. Somewhere in the darkness, a new era began. Quiet. Patient. Human.